Click the links for Odysee, Bit Chute, support the channel. Yikes, my guy. Bad take. That seems to be every Twitter response of people who, and touch some grass. Yikes, my guy. Bad take. Touch some grass. And people who say that literally spend 3 hours a day on Twitter. If you think 3 hours a day on Twitter is an exaggeration, you either haven't been on Twitter, you don't understand how addictive it is, or you haven't seen these people on Twitter. Don't take my word for it. You can go scroll their timeline. You go, this is a Saturday and you're tweeting like every 5 minutes. You literally spent 4 hours on Twitter on Saturday. It's like, shouldn't you do something else? Leave the house, even watch a movie, read a book, do anything other than spend 4 hours on Saturday on Twitter. That's 4 hours of your life. As Freddie King said, at times a one-way street. Anyway, so will they Gina Carano, Chris Pratt? They're going to try. Chris is English, and he's some sort of Christian. That is haram for Hollywood, or rather for the Twitter mobs that spend hours a day on Twitter. These people really will spend 2 hours a day on Twitter, and I know what it's like, because I used to love to fight on Twitter, and I look back on that time, like 6 months of a heavy Twitter user. It's like, what a freaking waste. What a loser. What a loser it is to be on Twitter for more than, 15 minutes a day. And I won't say Twitter is as addictive as heroin or cigarettes or something. It's not, but it's not nothing. If you're a heavy user and you get kicked off, or you'll try to quit, and really if you're trying to quit, just get kicked off. It's the easiest, because then it's permanent. You'll be like twitching for a few days after, and your hand will be grabbing for the phone, like, I gotta see what Twitter says about this. I gotta own the Republicans. I gotta own the left wing or the right wing. It's like, you really need to just go for a jog, or do anything, really anything other than spend time on Twitter. But that's how addictive Twitter is. It's like, click and get dopamine. That's like 4 hours. You'd probably be better off maybe smoking a cigarette while walking the dog. Maybe that would balance it out. And join the channel, become a member. Okay, so these Twitter weirdos have nothing better to do but bitch and moan simply for the Twitter neurotransmitter boost. They think Chris Pratt's some kind of MAGA Trump guy. His girlfriend is conservative or something. He's his friends, I guess, loosely with Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. And he's vaguely all lives matter. Well, Trump and Arnold are milquetoast Israel, China first pussies. If you think they're right wing, then what is someone like Patrick Buchanan or someone who's actually on the right? Once you call some moderate like Trump or Chris Pratt or all these other moderates a Hugo Boss type, you kind of run out of runway on your landing. If everyone is the devil, then it just makes you sound like a crazy person. No, really. It makes you sound like you should be in the institution if you really think like half the world is these evil people. The left wing are the most intolerant children. 99% of Hollywood is far left, but they can't tolerate the 1% that aren't far left. Who's that guy, James Wood? Even he did a remake of that Vincent Price movie, which was great. The original was great. The remake, I know it's the purists. I'll say the remake was even better. And if you're on the left on most issues, but if you're pro-life or you're pro, borders or something, you may as well be reading My Struggle. They will not suffer heresy in their coven of witches. I can't stand that somebody has the audacity to believe that all lives matter. How do you argue against German, English, Irish lives mattering? Don't Russian or Swedish lives matter? How do you say they don't matter? Is my Japanese or whatever life worth less than an African life? How does that make sense to them? We have reached 1984 Weimar 1934 levels when a factually true statement causes them to get triggered. European lives matter. Asian lives matter. I had a joke in there, but I'm going to skip that because it get me kicked off. Hashtag Austrian lives matter. And so I can't wrap my head around people who tell you to your face that your life doesn't matter, but their life does. Why would we then value someone who don't value us? I don't know. I'm hoping the milquetoast MAGA normies and the milquetoast left of center, that big 70% of people who are on this, get them focus in the center of the bell curve, will come to that realization that these people hate you. So they want to Gina Carano, Chris Pratt, but he's a huge draw in terms of drawing a crowd as the lead actor. I think he's even bigger than some other better known actors. I guess you could compare him to like Chris Evans, but Evans isn't as likable for whatever reason. And now that I think about it, how many big draw stars are there out there anymore? Ryan Reynolds, Pratt, Evans, who's that other guy, Paul Rudd? The past 2 years have sucked the life out of Hollywood, where now doing a voice role is seen as a viable option. Actually, the past few years have sucked a lot of life out of Hollywood. The Wu flu, but before that, the Trump derangement syndrome. Hollywood post-2016 has taken off the mask. They hate the European American audience, but they want their money. If you haven't been paying attention, there's been a lot of underperforming films lately, especially during the past 2 years of the Wu flu. It's like they're afraid to make a movie because BLM may riot if they don't like it. You look at something like Suicide Squad. Visually, it looked great. Everything was in the right place. But it didn't have any heart. It was just blonde man, bad, pink, fluffy vagina power. It had zero rewatchability. But Chris Pratt is not on the left-wing plantation. For Hollywood, he's considered to be right-wing. I really doubt he's right-wing. And really, it's all relative, because the right-wing considers MAGA normies to be left-wing, because they are, and they just don't know it. But I am firmly on Team Accelerate, like with the Image comics. They're some comic left-wing idiots who were trying to form a union. Go for it, because you're going to destroy it. It's kind of a similar thing with getting rid of my fat Italian waifu, Gina Carano, and trying to get rid of Chris Pratt. It makes people see what intolerant assholes the left wing really is, which is cool because it kind of gives us sort of a springboard into pointing out what monsters they are. The left-wing people are evil, and their ideas are evil, and evil people are attracted to evil ideas. I wonder what Hollywood's going to be like in 5 years, because it's pretty well dog shit now. Chris Pratt has been in a few fun, simple films. I guess he's an A-list star. Guardians was a big film, but I'm trying to compare him to like the A-list stars I'm more familiar with, like Harrison Ford, Brad Pitt, and Tom Cruise. Like if you're a movie purist, maybe those guys weren't in, high class movies. I guess I don't know what you want to call it for the purists, but they were in all three of those guys had a long history of being in very financially successful movies. Harrison Ford probably relatively the most successful. I don't know. Maybe Tom Cruise has got him beat. Because, like, you look at Tom Cruise's movies, and, yeah, they're fluffy, stupid movies, like the Days of Thunder type of, like, movies about just nothing. But it's like those movies were been firmly in the black for a long time. And I think he made some real movies, too. But so I don't think Chris Pratt is quite in that level yet. And I don't think anyone post-2016 Hollywood, post-Trump derangement syndrome, is ever going to be, like, a super, super blockbuster guy like with the history of those three guys. I just don't think the infrastructure is in place. It's like someone talking about comic book sales are never going to be what they were because there's too many stores that have closed to have a comic book sell, I don't know, 500,000 or 1 million or something. It's very difficult to do with the fewer remaining stores because the infrastructure is not in place, and it's out of the cultural the cultural zephyr that was blowing from, I don't know, when comic books were more influential, like from the 50s to maybe the 80s. That's kind of out of place now because the country demographics has changed so much. So it feels like a lot of things that were, just things like, records, like people don't listen to records as much anymore. And you look at movies, you look at comics, you think, oh, it's inconceivable that big movie theaters or even comics won't be a thing anymore. It's like, well, yeah, comics stopped being a thing 25, 30 years ago, kind of. I mean, yes, I know it was like the boom of the 90s, but that was the tail end of something that was actually dying. So say 20 years ago. And you go, oh, it's inconceivable that big screen movie theaters won't be a thing anymore. Is it really inconceivable? Because you got a home tablet that you can watch movies on, and yeah, it's not quite the same thing, but if you're comparing it to getting out of the house and going to a theater and sitting next to the next Typhoid Mary, and like I got a buddy this guy is a movie fanatic. I know this guy I do Bit Chute videos with. He's Asian, but he's the most base dude on earth. Oh my god, I have to constantly like put my hand over his mouth to stop this guy from saying things that would get us killed. He said like, yeah, he's had the Wu flu. He said it was not a pleasant experience at all, and he says he's not going back to a theater again because he doesn't want to get it again. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I look at theaters now. It's like I never thought I would be affected by fear of the Wu flu. I look at it like, do I really want to sit in a theater for 2 hours? Like, that would have to be, is a movie that good that it's worth dying for? I don't know. I don't think so. So I look at it and goes, oh, I guess I'm never going to go to a theater again. Like, yeah, you can wear an N95 for 2 hours, but do you want to? I mean, yeah, it's not quite the same watching a movie on a home theater system or like a tablet and headphones. But I don't think movies are really worth dying for, especially movies post 2016, and especially movies post 2020. Holy shit! The Wu Flu offerings, that whole, like even before Wu Flu, there was like the Charlie's Angels, Terminator, X-Woman, Ghostbusters 2016. There was a bunch of movies that were just, you look at me like, why are you guys making these movies and losing $20 million? And then after the Wu Flu, like Wonder Woman 84, Suicide Squad, Shang-Chi, the G.I. Joe guys, Snake Eyes, like a lot of those movies. And there was a few more, like they're not even worth, you watch about 20 minutes and you're like, oh, this isn't going to get any better. Do I want to spend another hour watching the rest of this? Or would I rather just go read a book or go on YouTube? Like, oh, yeah, maybe movies post-2020 rides are kind of over. I don't know. Don't worry. I think I was going with that. It was Chris Pratt has been in a few fun, simple films, but I don't think he's like achieved superstar. Like he was in Jurassic World, but those are, more forgettable movies than like you say, oh, Harrison Ford was in the Star Wars and Indiana Jones trilogies, or I know Indiana Jones went on for more, but like that kind of pedigree, I don't think, are you going to have that ever again? I don't think so. I don't think post 2020 riots you'll ever have movies like that again, because like those movies, the original Star Wars and the original Indiana Jones, the first three, they're politically incorrect now, like massively over the top politically incorrect. Star Wars isn't really politically incorrect, it just wasn't, it had too many fair-skinned people in it, so you couldn't make that again. As you've seen in 2015 with the diverse abortion they call Star Wars. And Indiana Jones was politically incorrect for all whatever various reasons. Like, so you couldn't make any of those 6 films anymore. And those 6 films were a huge part of, I don't know, a kid's of the 70s and 80s upbringing. Like, it's a huge part of like what you think of movies, action films. It's like, no, it's in culturally speaking, is it important as the Norse mythology? No, of course not. But practically speaking, it has a big impact on people and like storytelling. They think of Star Wars and Indiana Jones as, if they want to tell stories, they probably loosely follow that Lucas Spielberg format. And I don't think you're ever going to have those kind of movies ever again. Or at least not until the country, I don't know if there'll be like a civil division, then you have like different regions of the state where, oh, you can have a new Hollywood where you can make a Temple of the Doom. And even at the time, people came out and said, oh, a Temple of the Doom is politically incorrect. I'm looking at it like, okay. So like 1% of the people who are watching Spielberg's film are offended, but like the other 99% are totally on board with it. Why would you want to cater to that one? Oh, we need to make something that's everything to all people. Doesn't seem like you're doing that. It just makes you. It seems like the movies that have come out are just dog shit. Like, do you want to continue to do dog shit? I think they painted themselves in a corner, and they don't really have a way around that. Anyway, so Chris Pratt has been in like a few movies, but anyway, I don't think he's a superstar like those other guys. So he goes to church and he believes all lives matter, and he seems like a pretty nice, normal guy and a decent actor. There doesn't seem to be enough to get worked up about, but people on Twitter will take the smallest thing and just blow it into a flame. But that's how social media works. If you don't loudly proclaim to be on the left on every single stupid issue, then you're assumed to be on the right. And that doesn't seem to be fair to most people, because the political discrimination looks like political discrimination. Yeah, they're openly saying that if you're on the right, you're not welcome to work in Hollywood. Social media is great at showing you what intolerant, left-wing, racist assholes Hollywood types really are. Like Chelsea Handler, Sarah Silverman, Jimmy Kimmel, like a bunch of these guys. Like they're monsters and they're hypocrites. Who's that guy? Who's that guy? He played a rapper. Let me think of his name. Sacha Baron Cohen. Like these people are just hypocritical, anti-white sellouts. And you get on Twitter, you can see what they actually are. And you're like, oh. Why? Like the support for them won't drop off, and the support for them doesn't matter because they'll kind of age out. But the support for the next generations of like these Jack Blacks who you read their social media and you're like, oh, these are horrible people. Like these are really anti-white, anti-misandrist, horrible people. They want all these horrible things that would destroy a nation. And you go, oh, where do you live in? Oh, I live in a gated community with armed guards. Oh. That seems hypocritical. Anyway, Hollywood is this billion-dollar Bolshevik propaganda machine that is mostly anti-white, but also degrades POCs with the soft bigotry of lowered expectations. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, support channel if you can. Join the channel while you're able to, and I'll see you guys all next episode.